Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits that kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Central. The United States Congress is considering a bill that could impose sweeping sanctions on 12 northern Nigerian governors, top judges, and traditional rulers over alleged complicity in what American lawmakers call a Christian genocide and systemic persecution under Nigeria's Sharia and blasphemy laws. The move follows President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, CPC. Trump, in a post on Truth Social, accused Nigerian authorities of allowing the killing of Christians and warned of possible military intervention if the situation persists. The Nigerian Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025, sponsored by Senator Ted Cruz, mandates sanctions under the Global Majesty Human Rights Accountability Act. Now, those found culpable would face visa bans, asset freezes, and not forgetting to financial restrictions. But let's tell you some more.
Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, held an emergency meeting with service chiefs and security heads in the nation's capital, Abuja, yesterday. Security sources say the meeting focused on assessing the security and diplomatic implications of Trump's remarks and preparing a unified national response, according to reports. The NSA urged all agencies to strengthen intelligence coordination and reinforce Nigeria's sovereignty.
This is going to blow your mind. Kids.
Join us this morning on Breakfast Central to discuss this is international lawyer and foreign policy lawyer Dignity Ekpa. We're also joined by Mr. George Ashiru, Chairman, African Democratic Congress in Lagos State. One welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with Mr. Ekpa in the studio with us. There's a United Nations Charter, and we're governed by international law. They call it a rule-based order. Does the United States have a right to interfere in the internal affairs of Nigeria and also threaten invasion? Is that under the ambit of international law? A good place to start with.
Okay, to be clear, under the UN Charter, the United States cannot interfere in Nigeria's domestic issue because of the principle of sovereignty and non-interference. So that would be a violation of the UN Charter. Yeah.
Is there an exception to that? Is there a point where it's allowed for them to come into Nigeria?
The concept of sovereignty under international law is not absolute. but there are conditions that have to be met before you can have a derogation from sovereignty. For instance, to be able to intervene militarily in the domestic affairs of another state, you have to have the authorization of the United Nations Security Council, number one. Number two is that there's also been this notion under international law that where there is mass atrocity crimes, grievous and serious breach of human rights, there can be intervention on humanitarian grounds.
Like what we witnessed in Rwanda in 1994.
Exactly.
Yes.
So again, this is, and that's the grounds on which the US is making whatever demands, I would assume, because they are claiming that what is happening, and that's not a claim, because there have been Christians that have been killed,
exactly.
But that there's been a large number of Christians, but the US is now anchoring in on that to say that they want to come into Nigeria. So from what you're saying, does the numbers, the statistics that we have, or the killings, do they amount or do they qualify for an opportunity or an avenue for the US to come into Nigeria?
So by the assessment, under international law, state parties have a responsibility to protect its citizen against genocide, to protect its citizen. And of course, sovereignty has two concepts. There is the internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty is that a state and a country has every right to protect its borders, to exercise control over its population. External sovereignty, a state has every right to conduct foreign policy with another state to be able to protect its interest. However, to the question that you asked, there has been reports and allegation of serious human rights abuse on which President Trump is anchoring his message that he's going to send military action. Without meeting certain conditions under international law, that will not be legal. One of those conditions is that if you look at the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, a state must either be unwilling or has refused to deal with this sort of serious crimes. Where a state fails or is manifestly unwilling, then the international community can act.
You said when the state fails
or is unwilling.
So with what we have now, can that be categorized as a success, a failure, or the government being unwilling?
So the challenge that I have is that it doesn't seem to me, I may be wrong, but it doesn't seem to me that the Nigerian state is really serious and is following its own responsibility under international law to protect its citizens. This is not even a debate about who is being killed or the religion of who is getting killed. It's about that the state has that responsibility.
Okay, we've talked about the legal angle. Let's bring in Mr. Ashiru to talk about the political aspect to this conversation. You've heard this. Even yesterday on the show, we had the former DSS chief who said that he believes that the Nigerian state lacks the political will, and this is me paraphrasing, but the political will. And he gave a number of explanations of things that show that the Nigerian state lacks political will. He talked about the negotiation with terrorists, in some parts, the radicalization of terrorists, and the fact that if the government really wanted to be able to fight terrorism in Nigeria, that the government will have been able to deal with it by now. So let's get your thoughts. Is that a position you agree with, or do you think that, just like Mr. Temitope Ajayi also said earlier, that the government has been doing its, trying its best?
Amazon made $638 billion.
Thank you very, very much. This is critical topic at this critical juncture. In our national development, 65 years of existence as a combined, unified country, but not yet a nation. And the evidence of it thereof is what the whole world is referring to, right from the days of Bring Back Our Girls Brigade and so on and so forth. And the sense that the Nigerian government has never shown any passion to protect the rights and privileges of the people under the UN Declaration of Human Rights. There seems to be a sense that we have a right to protect we have the power, and therefore we use it to protect the rights of those who support us, who vote for us, who look like us, who speak like us. And that's what the international community is viewing, as we can see. Now, that doesn't mean that if Nigeria was not invaded, in the early days of Boko Haram, Nigeria was not invaded even when the girls were abducted over time, there will be no invasion. But I think what is important is that there's a searchlight. There's a light that is being shone on Nigeria now that is holding the government accountable for the fact that people don't have the freedom to gather, they don't have the freedom to speak, they don't have the freedom to practice their religion, they don't have the freedom to stay where they want to be within the ambits of the law because they are Nigerian passport holders or qualified to be passport holders. All of these are the kinds of things that go up to the United Nations and the ambassadors see, and they take back to their presidents. And when their presidents get to see it, some presidents will look and say, the only way I can make your government take action is to beaming a searchlight on it and making an international noise about it. So that will force you to reflect and say, are we doing enough to ensure we're protecting the rights of people to freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, and so on and so forth? And you see, when the government is picked at, it's because when the people don't have the capacity to fight the government, either through the vote system, through the ability to even freely discuss, their opinions as guaranteed by this same United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, an international community is going to try and come in. And this is therefore a responsibility of government to say, okay, we are doing our best. We can show you evidence that we're doing our best. But even what we in Party ADC were experiencing in Lagos is an indication. If little things like people attacking a group of negotiators sitting to meet, and the government has nothing to say about it, and the government is not doing anything about it, how much more potential genocide in the north of Nigeria?
Okay, well, you've talked about that. What's your take? Let me come back to you before we come back to the studio. There were statements made by the SA to the president that the president was going to jet out ASAP to meet with President Trump so they can speak about the issues bedeviling Nigeria in terms of insecurity. Later on, there was also a counter statement.
Yes, this has taken far too long. You'll recall that when I was Secretary of State, I designated, with the president's approval, Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That's a kind of a fancy term for violating a legal requirement to protect adherence to the Christian faith, whatever country or whatever place you may be. The International Religious Freedom Act requires that, and when the Secretary of State determines that the country is not upholding that standard, it designates them as a country of particular concern. What does it mean? It means that now the full weight of the United States, in many diplomatic ways and many economic ways, can now be brought to bear to convince the Nigerian government to do the basic thing that we ask them, to be tolerant of religious freedom inside of their own country and to protect those persons in Nigeria, mostly in the north, who are Christian, who are simply trying to live their lives and practice their faith and who are being murdered by their fellow Nigerians.
Listen, gentlemen, I present to you Senator Ted Cruz as he speaks on the activities of Nigeria being relisted as a country of particular concern. Please listen to Senator Ted Cruz. Thank you.
In the first Trump term, President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, Joe Biden came into office and immediately unwound that, removed them from the list, removed pressures, removed sanctions, and basically turned a blind eye while radical Islamic terrorists slaughtered Christians. When President Trump was reelected this second time, I've been leading the effort, urging the president to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Last Friday, the president did so. I'm very grateful that President Trump did so. It's the right thing to do. I've also introduced legislation that would impose targeted sanctions on the particular government officials who are responsible for looking the other way, responsible for facilitating or condoning this mass slaughter. And specifically, 12 state governments within Nigeria enforce Sharia law and enforce blasphemy laws. And the federal government also criminalizes blasphemy nationwide. These laws are used to persecute Christians, and these government officials are complicit in the mass murder. So I'm urging the White House and the administration to use our sanctioning tools to target and to incentivize these government officials to stop the mass murder that is occurring in Nigeria.
Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. Thank you. I appreciate you for your words. Fellow Biafrans, listeners all across the world, those that believe in Nigeria, I say, please lend me your ears. To the Christians around the whole world, I say, it is time. The time has come. For far too long, you've allowed Nigeria to do the unthinkable to the Christians. A time when all the resources that some of the naysayers, those who are social media influencers, are talking about. I wish you to understand that all the resources are being controlled by this same Islamic terrorist politicians in Nigeria. The masses, the youths, the people who owns those resources have no access to them. But unfortunately, as we speak now, it has gotten to their head where they now feel like, for the fact they control the resources and no one is speaking about it, for the fact they loot the treasury dry and no country, not even Britain, is raising an eyebrow about it, it is time for them to please Saudi Arabia. As we know, every year these criminal politicians from Nigeria go and do their Hajj in Mecca, and they've been told that the only way they can rub shoulders with their fellow League of Islamic Nations is to go back to Nigeria, Islamize Nigeria, and turn Nigeria into a Sharia country. So this has been the quest for the so-called leaders or luders of Nigeria. The Islamic jihadists, they came for power. From 2009, they made sure they brought in the terrorists into Nigeria. All of the guys of politics. Today, as we speak, Boko Haram, ISIS, ISWAP, Lakurawa has taken over Nigeria. Today, as we speak, the Fulani killer headsmen, they are out there taking over, and nobody's speaking about it. So we encourage Trump. We thank Senator Ted Cruz. We thank the Christians around the whole world for making this a reality. We say thank you. We appreciate you, because for you all, Biafrans and Christians in Nigeria will be set free. We thank you for yielding to the calls, the cry of the Christians. Let's play this one more time. Hear the words from Senator Ted Cruz. Very, very important words that he broke down here. Please listen one more time.
First Trump term, President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, Joe Biden came into office and immediately unwound that, removed them from the list, removed pressures, removed sanctions, and basically turned a blind eye while radical Islamic terrorists slaughtered Christians.
That's because when Trump made sure that Nigeria was placed in the position that it's supposed to be, something happened in the year 2015. Barack Obama made sure that an Islamic jihadist, a terrorist sympathizer known as Buhari, was made president of Nigeria. That was the call of Barack Obama. And we're glad that when Trump came into power, Trump saw the havoc that the so-called president of Nigeria was doing. He was a terrorist sympathizer, and he was the founder, or more of like a grand patron, of Boko Haram into Nigeria. Hence, Trump made sure Nigeria was placed as a country of particular concern. Unfortunately, when Joe Biden came into power, being one-time running mate of Barack Obama, he went back to the script of Barack Obama and made sure Nigeria was taken off as a country of particular concerns And their crazy excuse was that the so-called terrorism happening in Nigeria was not the terrorism. Instead, they blamed it on climate change. That the Fulani herdsmen with their cows, due to drought in the north, they have to sojourn, they have to travel to the southwest, to the southeast, to the middle belt with their cows to eat the fresher grass around the eastern region, the southwestern region of Nigeria. Hence, President Joe Biden took Nigeria out of the list of countries of particular concern. So I say blame it on Barack Obama. Blame it on Barack Obama. He was the mastermind of this nonsense. He made sure that a Christian president was taken out of office from Nigeria and was replaced by an Islamic jihadist Boko Haram sympathizer known as Muhammadu Buhari in the year 2015. Let's continue.
When President Trump was reelected this second time, I've been leading the effort, urging the president to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Last Friday, the president did so. I'm very grateful that President Trump did so. It's the right thing to do. I've also introduced legislation that would impose targeted sanctions on the particular government officials who are responsible for looking the other way, responsible for facilitating or condoning this mass slaughter. And specifically, 12 state governments within Nigeria enforce Sharia law and enforce blasphemy laws. And the federal government also criminalizes blasphemy nationwide. These laws are used to persecute Christians, and these government officials are complicit in the mass murder. So I'm urging the White House and the administration to use our sanctioning tools to target and to incentivize these government officials to stop the mass murder that is occurring in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Because sometimes when we speak this way, we the Biafrans, largely Christians, we've been calling out on this. We've been calling out on this, but unfortunately in Nigeria, there's something called tribalism where the other tribes, they come together, they subjugate us, they hate us, they unify in disunity just because they hate the Biafrans, the Igbos in Nigeria. As we speak, those 12 states that you mentioned, they are the pioneers of Sharia law in Nigeria. They were the pioneers of blasphemy law in Nigeria. So please go as far back as the year 1999. That was when a then president known as President Olusegun Obasanjo, in his tenure as a civilian president, the North were angry and they said to him, they want to impose Sharia. They want to govern themselves with Sharia law. And unfortunately, this president, being a coward, he laughed it off. He said Sharia would die a natural death in Nigeria. He believed that the secular law system they have will supersede that of the Sharia law. He claimed on national TV that anytime a Sharia law meets a secular law, that the Sharia law will have to bow because the secular law will succeed or supersede that of the Sharia law. So he gave a blind eyes, saying that Sharia law would die a natural death within 6 months. 6 months has turned to all these years you're seeing. They are waxing stronger. They've taken over Nigeria. Nigeria that was once a secular country is now an Islamic country. The force, chaos, Islamization of everyone. Now you have to conform. You have to dress up like a Muslim in order to be accepted. You must shy away from your Christian religion in your workplace, in the civil service, in the government jobs before you are allowed to do your job. You must go down to the caliphate. You must go to those 12 states you mentioned and bow down to the caliphate prostrate to the caliphate, swear an oath with the Quran to the caliphate. Tell them you will uphold Islam in your Christian state, and before saying that, that's the only way they can allow you to become a governor, a politician, a senator in those Christian countries or Christian states. As we speak, all the governors in the Christian states have now been compromised because they cannot win election unless they swear an oath with the Islamic Caliphate of Nigeria. So technically speaking, in theory, Nigeria has been coerced to be an Islamic country. But we are glad that the Western world came to the cries, hurried to the aid of the Christians, the Biafrans, because this is what the Biafrans saw. Hence, we said we wanted out of Nigeria. We saw this coming. We knew this day would come. Hence, we said we wanted out. But unfortunately, due to tribalism in Nigeria, did I need to explain to you all that tribalism is worse than racism? Racism is between black and white, black and brown, the black and yellow or whatever. But in tribalism, it is those that look like you, your skin folks, those that act like you, those that talk like you. They are the ones doing it. So it is hard to decipher what is really going on in tribalism. Because of tribalism, they know that Nigeria is becoming an Islamic country, but they choose to subjugate the Biafrans. They choose to subjugate the Christians. They choose to take the land of the Christians, all because they believe in politics. The other tribe are with the caliphates that you mentioned from the 12 states. The other tribes, they are with them because they believe they now have a partnership, a mutual partnership to rule Nigeria through the Islamic faith. So to America, I want to thank you. We want to appreciate you for stepping forward to make sure that the Christians are safe. Thank you so much, Ted Cruz. Thank you so much, Donald Trump. Thank you to the Christian world for praying for us. Today, through Trump, through America, God has answered the prayers of the Christians and Biafrans. Now, for those naysayers who pretend, those who want to blame Trump, those social media influencers who've been paid by the Nigerian government to sabotage the good effort of Trump and America, I want to play to you a video that will touch your heart. This man kept it 100, he kept it real, and he exposed those behind the killing, their agenda in Nigeria. The Fulani Islamic Caliphate are responsible. So please watch this video, and I hope this will clear the doubts that some of you might have about what is happening in Nigeria. Watch this.
Fulani Oshun, Fulani Ekiti, Fulani Sokoto, Fulani Katsina, Fulani Kaduna, Fulani Plateau, Fulani Benue, Fulani Taraba. Are you the only tribes in Nigeria? You are not the only tribe. There is nothing like profiling of a people. I'm a Fulani man. I'm a grandfather of 8 grandchildren. And we just have to speak the truth. The Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. As long as we continue to glouse over the truth, we will never get the answer. And I want to say this to our security men: until justice is done, there will never be a solution. If you get a Fulani man that is a killer, deal with him as a killer. If you get a Bureau man that is a killer, deal with him as a killer, and this will come to an end. But you don't give certain people advantage over other tribes. I respect the people that have hosted me, even though I am an indigene of Plateau State, because I was born here. My children are grown up. I have 8 grandchildren. But yet we respect the people we met on ground. In Maiduguri, my hometown, the people that come to meet us respect us. When the Boko Haram thing started in Maiduguri, it was us, the indigenes, the people, the Kanuris, who came together and said, this thing is among us. And then we started getting on, and then we raised the civilian JTF. That was how Boko Haram was dealt with. Kanuri man will bring his own children and said, Gashina ina chikin Boko Haram. And that was how we dealt with it. Mayati Allah Association, 80% of the responsibility of the genocide is on you. You have the 80% answer. Because if today Mayati Allah says this genocide will stop, it's not herders and farmers clashes. Intentional genocide, terrorism, and that will stop.
These are the words from a Fulani man, but in this case, he's a Christian convert. He called it what it is. It is a genocide. It's not farmers and herders clash. It is a genocide. And he mentioned those who are behind it. The Mieti Allah, the members of the Mieti Allah. It is a genocide. Hear it one more time. Hear it one more time.
My children are grown up. I have 8 grandchildren. But yet we respect the people we met on ground. In Maiduguri, my hometown, the people that come to meet us respect us. When the Boko Haram thing started in Maiduguri, it was us, the indigenes, the people, the Kanuris, who came together and said, this thing is among us. And then we started getting on, and then we raised the civilian JTF. That was how Boko Haram was dealt with. Kanuri man will bring his own children and said, Gashina ina chikin Boko Haram. And that was how we dealt with it. Mayati Allah Association, 80% of the responsibility of the genocide is on you. You have the 80% answer. Because if today Mayati Allah says this genocide will stop, it's not herders and farmers clashes. Intentional genocide, terrorism, and that must stop. It must stop. I'm not happy to move as a Fulani man and my tribe is being profiled. My children, when they travel out and Fulani, here Fulani, there Fulani, I am a proud Fulani man. I am a proud Kanuri man. It's just like when Boko Haram started. We're not proud of it. Why should it be from Borno State? But then we decided to fight it. I am here to say, Nigeria, we are not honest to ourselves.
Nigerians, those that believe they are Nigerians, they are not honest to themselves. They are a bunch of liars, tribal bigots. Donald Trump is coming to rescue the Christians, but they've turned it around to say no, that America is coming to steal the resource of Nigeria. The tribal bigots, because today their brother is in power, they don't care about the genocide happening in Nigeria. They only believe in politics. The tribal bigots, because today they are the ones for the next 8 years or so to be in government. Most of their siblings, friends, relatives around the whole world who are enjoying the best of life in the Western world, they are the ones speaking and telling us to remain the way things are. They are the ones telling us not to accept the support of Trump. But they are living in the Western world, enjoying the best of life in a foreign land. There is a complex nature of Nigeria, a place where criminality thrives. Even in the face of adversary, in the face of genocide happening, tribalism is still superseding the reality on ground. But today we are glad a Fulani man has come out to tell you all. It is not farmers and herders clash as they claim. It is a genocide. It is a genocide. It is a genocide of the Christians. So America, we are calling upon you to please hurry to the aid of the Christians. There is a war going on outside that nobody is safe from. In God we trust, and we believe within the next 90 days, the Christians in Nigeria will be free again. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Free at last. Thank you. May God bless you. May God bless the Christians in Nigeria. May God bless the Christians all across the whole world. May God bless America, God's own country. And may God bless Biafra. Thank you, and God bless.